All right, the next thing I will be talking about are your clearances. So your clearances, they will expire 1 year after the date. That's very important to keep in mind. I know most of you know that, but that's always important to know and to keep up with of when your clearances expire. And then what I'm also going to talk about in this video are just 2 of the clearances that you need. These 2 clearances are the clearances your home study provider needs to run. You have more than 2 clearances that we need from you, but these are the 2 that I'm going to talk about right now and go into a little more detail about first before moving on to the next video with more clearances. I'm able to run other clearances, but unfortunately, these are the only 2 that I'm not able to run legally. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the child abuse clearance, and then I will go over FBI as well. Those are the 2 you need to talk to your provider about. Now, the child abuse should be just 1 page showing your name and the date the clearance cleared. Sometimes there will be a stamp of clearance. It will say child abuse. This is one of the clearance that will look a little different from every state. Child abuse can be tricky because most clearances in general say child abuse somewhere on them. So if you get confused, please let me know. I don't mind providing a little clarity. You can also ask your provider as well. They will know. Want you to know which one is child abuse because when it does come time to renew, it will not be as confusing to you, and you'll also have a copy in your binder. I will also show you a few examples today of what a child abuse clearance looks like. And I'm going to show some states that we have most in our agency currently right now. So I will show examples of North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Texas, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. Now, if I did not say your state, please continue to listen because it could look, your child abuse clearance could look a little similar to what I've shown. And you can also point out keywords that you need to be looking for in your child abuse as well. So the first one I will go over is North Carolina. So here's an overview of what the North Carolina clearance will look like. I'm trying to straighten it out. Okay, and so your information will go here, and then while I've whited out, your information will go here along with your signature and the day you filled that out. And then this will say like North Carolina Division of Social Services. Normally something that says social services has something to do with child abuse. And then here I also highlighted, it'll say identified as being responsible for the abuse or serious neglect of a juvenile. So that's how you will also know that this is child abuse. And then this is the clearance date. So you see there's like a date here as well, but you see a box with a signature in the date and then says is not on the RIL. So which means the responsible individuals list. So that's the person you know who ran the clearance. So that's important to know. You'll see here like your provider's information as well. So those are the key things to be looking out for when you're reading a clearance because this is a lot to be looking at. And so when you see that sheet of paper, I want you to just be able to point out where to look, what words to look for, and you can identify exactly what it is. So that's North Carolina. This is what the Tennessee looks like. Here's an overview. I've highlighted what you could be looking at to identify what child abuse is. It'll say Tennessee Department of Children's Services database search results. This form is to be used to request a search of DCS, which is Department of Children's Services, Current Child Welfare Information System Database. So Current Child Welfare, you know, there's a clue right there that this is child abuse. There's your information that you'll put right here. The date that you filled it out is at the top, date of request. but then the actual clearance date will be down here. That's the person. It'll say search completed by. That's the date you need to be looking for. The date you fill out a clearance is not the day that it clears. Now, if you see below where it says date completed by, and it so happens to be the same exact date, that's great too. But that's what I want you to be looking for, is date completed by this person on this date. And then here it will say no evidence was found indicating the person listed above is obtained as a perpetrator of child abuse or neglect in Tennessee. So that one sentence, pretty self-explanatory, that this is child abuse. Okay, the next one is Texas. Okay. So there's an overview of what Texas looks like. Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. The day that it was filled out with your information. In-state central registry check. So that's how you'll also know in-state registry. And then on 6/21, a Texas Child Abuse Neglect Century Registry background check was completed. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3, third paragraph down, you'll see that a child abuse background check was completed. So that's how you'll know it's child abuse. The next one is Pennsylvania. This one can be a little harder to read than a couple of the other ones that I just showed. How you can really tell is really just at the very top. So here's an overview of what child abuse looks like. It'll say Pennsylvania child abuse, verification date. So that is the date you need to go by for the clearance date. So 1 year after verification date. And then just also highlighted here, applied for Pennsylvania child abuse, history certification, chapter 63 related in the Child Protective Services. No record exists. Okay. And then if you keep reading through, also underlined, this person is not a perpetrator of indicated or founded report of child abuse. So it'll say multiple times child abuse somewhere as well. I know it's hard to read things, like government paperwork can just look really overwhelming and confusing. So, if you're reading through and you're just like, I know it says this, but I feel like it's actually an FBI clearance, or I feel like it's National Sex Offender Clearance, I really have no clue. Can you help me? I don't mind reading through your paperwork at all. I want to give as much understanding to you as possible. Okay. And then Illinois. Oh, I have Florida in here too. Okay. So this one can look a little more confusing. So I think it's just this paper. So obviously what I've whited out here is the family's information. So this is where all your information will go. Up here, it will say Child Abuse and Neglect, State of Illinois, Department of Children and Family Services. Say right here as well. And then when you go down here, this will be the completion date with the person's signature that it cleared. To also tell if this is child abuse or not. So for Illinois right here, this is the sentence I'm going to read. It says, I hereby authorize the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services to conduct a search of the Child Abuse and Neglect Tracking System. So conduct a search of child abuse and neglect. So there's your clue right there that it's child abuse. And then the last one I'm going to go over for Florida. Okay, here's an overview of what that one looks like. You'll see here this is the information that you'll be filling out. Florida, you'll have husband and wife's name right here. So Florida will just be one page. And you've seen with all of these that child abuse is just one page. I don't need the application that you may have filled out with your home study provider or the government. I don't need the multiple pages that follow it. I just need that one page. I know when you send me that one page that this is child abuse and that it's legal and that it works for us. It works for South Carolina, so you can just send that one page in. Okay, so here's that. I'm going to read this underlined part right here. So Florida residents, when you get this, you'll know. It says reports of abuse, neglect, or abandonment investigated pursuant to Chapter 39 FS, in which may appears and there were some indication or verified indicators of maltreatment of a child or children. So there's some keywords to look out for when reading through, knowing if it's child abuse or not. You see where the person authorized it, the date was cleared, right there. All right, so there is child abuse. I know this is a longer video, so in the next video I'm going to look over FBI stuff with you.